But with that being said, guys, I'm getting myself out of the way, and I'm bringing up an individual that I've got to watch grow through this business. He works on himself. He continues to lead from the front, continues to lead from the front. I'm going to make him co-host real quick. He's a Circle of Champion members. I mean, he was handpicked by the company based on him and his team's production, to sit on the board or sit on with the Circle of Champions. He's a platinum regional vice president, and he has a phenomenal training in store for all of us this morning. So I got my notebook up and I'm going to bring up platinum regional vice president, Mr. Jeff Street. Jeff, are you on the call?
I am, Mike. It's an honor and a privilege and a pleasure to be on the call with all these top producing executive team leaders from all over North America and the Rockstar team here this morning. Can you hear me okay, Mike?
You're good, buddy. Call's up.
Awesome, brother. We just really appreciate the leadership of yourself and Patrick. They say the speed of the leader is the speed of the team. And, the biggest reason why this organization has been #1 month in, month out for 12, going on 13 years in a row is really just a reflection on you and your brother. So I want to start off by just thanking you for being the example that you are for all of us, for always being here on Monday mornings, for, staying consistent, to staying committed, to being at a point in your life where all of us are striving to get to, where you don't need to be here. You do it anyway. And I know that the great George Zalicki said it best. He said, commitment is doing the thing that you said you're going to do long after the mood that you said it in has left you. And I know that you don't have to be here, Mike, but you're here every single Monday morning because you want your organization to grow and to be able to, get the fruits of the labor for what they're building in ACN, just like what you and Patrick have done. So appreciate your dedication and your inspiration, my friend. And, guys, we've been doing a lot of talk recently about the number 24. And if this is your first call on the ETL level here today, when I talk about that number 24, one of the things that we've seen in regional director after regional director promotion, just like, Alex King, who we just promoted to regional director, we've studied promotion after promotion after promotion, and everybody comes from different backgrounds. The one thing that so many of them had in common was the number of people that they personally recruited in order to become regional director. And that number is 24. See, what we found is there's two different types of sorting in our business. There's sorting as you're going through your list, you're making your calls to determine who's going to get started and who isn't. Then once you get the people in your business, there's a second sort of sorting. And that sorting is who's going to really do it and who isn't. Because how many of you already found out that not everybody that gets started is going to have what it takes mentally to go all the way? How many should agree that some people are going to become a victim of getting too emotionally caught up in the nose? How many of us realize that? Yeah. And if you haven't realized that yet, welcome to ACN. You're about to realize that really soon. So what I want to do is do a training here today. I got inspired by a book that I read, over the last, week, and I took a bunch of notes. And I'm normally not a person that likes to read from notes while I do a training, but I believe that the information I'm going to share with you here today, if you can really internalize it, can be so impactful, for you and your business. It was for me, that I'm going to actually read through some notes as I'm going through this training here today. But as you're seeking to get those 24 yeses, those 24 reps in the business, and realizing that some of those 24 are going to do incredible things. Some of those 24 aren't. We just know that when you get your 24, you're going to go, chances are you're going to become regional director, and if not 24, a number very, very close to that. So, but I want to talk to you guys about how do you get to those 24? Because how many of us have already realized you're not going to get 24 by talking to 24? Who would agree with that? You're not going to get 24 people on presentations and have 24 people say yes. You're probably not going to get 48 people on a presentation and have 24 people say yes. See, that would be a 500 batting average, and that never has ever existed ever in the history of the major leagues of baseball. And if it comes to become a professional in that sport, we got to talk about becoming a professional in this sport. So what I want to talk to you guys about is going for no. And see, yes and no are a package deal. And you can't have one without the other. See, if you want to hear yes more often, then you're going to have to hear no more often too. See, by attracting more no's into your life, you automatically are going to attract more yeses into your life. And see, for most people, increasing the amount of times they hear no, it's a mental stretch. Now, am I saying that in addition increasing your failure rate, you should learn to love and accept and enjoy hearing the word no? And believe it or not, the answer is yes. See, where is it written that rejection has to be awful? What if hearing no could simply be annoying or amusing to you? Or what if it was exciting, it was energizing, and it was empowering? See, what if you could turn a no into something that empowered you instead of deflating you? See, chances are that you've got years of negative conditioning to overcome, that there's some mental reprogramming that's going to need to happen for no's to turn into something that's a positive experience for you, but it can happen. You just need to work on it. And one of the things that I read about, it's the 5 levels of failure. It's interesting. I've read the book, The 5 Levels of Leadership before, but now I started reading the 5 levels of failure. And here's what they are. Level number 1, the ability to fail. Level number 2, the willingness to fail. Number 3, the wantingness to fail. Number 4, failing bigger and faster. And number 5, failing exponentially. So let's dive into these 5 levels of failure. Level 1 is the ability to fail. See, everybody that's ever lived in this earth all falls into a minimum of at least the category number 1. See, everybody has the ability to fail. The problem is 80% of people never move beyond level number 1. Level number 2 is the willingness to fail. They accept failure as a natural byproduct of seeking success. Less than 20% of people, as common sense as that sounds, less than 20% of the people ever graduate from level 1 to level 2. Now, level number 3 is probably the most important one. And less than 5% of the people actually get to level number 3. And here's what level 3 is. It's the wantingness to fail. See, developing the desire to fail with the inner faith that your personal and financial growth is going to follow, that failure. And again, less than 5% of the people ever get there. Now, once you get there, you can get to level 4, you can get to level 5. It's just a bit of a mental shift. See, level 4 is failing bigger and faster. See, once you understand the value, once you understand the importance, once you understand going to the numbers, then all of a sudden you realize, if I can just fail bigger and I can fail faster, I can hit the bigger goals that I've got set out for myself. And level 5 is failing exponentially. See, massive success requires multiplication of effort. And see, that's what we're in the business of. We're not in the business of just going out and getting a bunch of customers, although you can do that and make a lot of money in ACN. We're in the business of creating leverage. John Paul Getty said it best: I'd rather have 1% of the efforts of 100 than 100% of the efforts of myself. We all have heard that and understand this. The level 5 people enlist others to fail with them, knowing that if individual failure means individual success, then group failure, equals group or team success. And I'm enrolling all of you guys today to fail more frequently, to fail more often, because those are the keys to all of us as a group, achieving the level of success that we want to achieve. Now, all of us know about IQ. What's the IQ? An intelligent quotient. But I want to talk to you guys today about your NQ. What's your NQ? Your no quotient. And this is the one thing that really matters way more in life. See, how many of us know people with a high IQ but are broke? And how many of you guys know people with a low IQ that have had massive success? Many of them have actually happened in this industry of network marketing. And see, the no quotient, your NQ, is the number of times you're willing to hear no before succeeding. The amount of rejection you're willing to endure and keep on going. The number of times you're willing to get knocked down and get back up again, knowing full well that you're going to get knocked down again, because it's part of the process. See, this is the number that determines greatness in the world that we live in today. It's your NQ. It's your no quotient. See, behind every great story of success is a story of persistence, courage, tenacity, a willingness to endure failure and rejection, uncommon by standards, by most people's standards, until they become successful. See, how did the Model T get its name? The famous Model T Ford. How did it get its name? Because Henry Ford went from level Model A all the way to Model S before finding Model T. Who would agree there was a lot of failure going through A, B, C, D, E, F, all the way up to S until he found the Model T. Thomas Edison said, "I have not failed at all. I have just successfully discovered 10,000 ways that do not work." See, the number of presentations you make in this business is more important than how you do them. And that's why I loved what Angie Thomas was talking about earlier on. She was like, I'm ready. I'm ready to go. It doesn't need to be perfect. It's just all about me going out and doing it anyway. See, the quality of the presentation, it's not the critical factor. The critical factor was that a presentation, 100% took place. See, how many of us have ever heard the saying, you can't say the right thing to the wrong person? And you can't say the wrong thing to the right person. It's just about overcoming that fear and just going out and doing it anyway and failing forward, because you got to be bad before you can be good. And you got to be good before you can be great. And you got to be great before you can become excellent. So you never want to suffer from the disease of chasing perfectionism. See, some people have analysis paralysis, and here's what that means. They analyze things so much that they stay paralyzed. Don't ever suffer from chasing perfectionism. It's all about just going out and doing it and making it happen. Become less emotionally connected to the outcome of the interaction. See, our attachment to outcomes tends to make us too emotional and less effective. Think about that for a minute. Our attachment to outcomes tends to make us too emotional and less effective. So your reaction to hearing yes or no should be of equal emotional intensity. The ultimate place to get to is where hearing yes or no contains the same emotional effect. We call that the neutral zone. And here's what I would write down if I was taking notes here today. I want to set a goal to get into the neutral zone. No matter if it's a yes or a no, I'm in the neutral zone. It has the same emotional effect or attachment on me. A great example is sports. And how many of us are sports fans, on this line? I know many of us are, missing sports right now, but here's what's great. We're playing in the sport of ACN. And in this game of ACN, you've got an ACN jersey and your name is on the back of it, and you've got an opportunity to go senior vice president and win the World Series of ACN. But let me talk about the World Series of baseball. See, in 2006, it was the Cardinals versus the Tigers, and there was a shortstop by the name of David Eckstein. And let me tell you about David. The first 11 plate appearances that he had in the World Series, he got out 11 times in a row. See, sometimes in network marketing, sometimes in ACN, you're going to hear the word no from 11 prospects in a row, and that's part of the process. Everybody say part of the process. Part of the process. See, in his first 11 appearances, he was 0 for 11. His first hit didn't come in the World Series until late in Game 3. Then he got 8 hits in his next 11 at-bats, winding up going 8 for 20, batting .364, and with the batting average and being the World Series MVP, even though he got out 11 times in a row before he got a hit. See, the more potential prospects in your pipeline in this business, the less impact that you've got in your emotions. How many of us have heard Mike or Patrick say, spend 1 minute on 100 different people, not 100 minutes on one person? See, if your prospect or your pipeline is just one or a couple different people, you're spending so much time trying to get those people to do something as opposed to sorting and moving on because you're unemotionally attached, because you're continuing to grow your prospect list. See, the way to overcome this fear of rejection is by practicing getting rejected, experiencing it, allowing yourself, to be rejected. See, no one was born rejection proof, believe it or not even Mike Mazer. I promise you, Mike was not born rejection proof. He had to grow through what he had to go through. And so will you. The successful people, they just develop that rejection muscle, no different than developing, a bicep. Who would agree you got to do a lot of bicep curls to have that bicep that you want to go out and obtain for yourself? In ACN, it's the same thing. You got to develop your rejection muscle by hearing no more often. See, how many times, ask yourself, how many times were you rejected last week? I want everybody to think about that a minute. How many times were you personally rejected last week? And write that number down. Now, how many of you had a mental shift from this conversation and wish that number was more than it was? Like, how many of you wish that you heard no after hearing this conversation right now last week more than you actually did? Let me see your hands. I see people raising their hands, on here. I appreciate your honesty there. And I think some of us are having, revelations, right now. See, set a goal for this week of how many times you will hear the word no. This is going to determine your failure quotient. In addition, how many times are you going to hear the word yes? See, when you track the number of times you hear no and the numbers of times that you hear yes, all of a sudden you're going to figure out what your personal ratio is going to be. See, in baseball, I talked about a batting average. Get up 10 times, get a hit 3 times, you're an all-star in the major leagues. So what's your ratio, going to be in this business? And understand success in this business, it's like riding a bike. Who would agree? First, you're going to fall. You're going to get your knees bloody, but you're going to get back up and just keep riding the bike again until you need to ride it. Until you can ride it, you got to have that same mentality here. And one of the trainers I used to listen to talked about something called fun, F-U-N. And the key to this is to make what I'm talking about fun for yourself. That's when you would detach the emotions for the yeses and the nos. See, understand, people aren't numbers, but this is a numbers game. And what fun stands for is fundamental understanding of numbers. Fundamental understanding of numbers. And you want to track how many exposures that you've done and then the amount of people that you sign up. See, we can't control our results, but we can control our activity. We can't control our results. We can control our activity to figure out what our batting average is, and then we can work on growing. We can work on getting better. We can work on increasing our batting average, but first we got to figure out what that batting average is. And here's the other thing we talk about all the time. The fortune is in the follow-up. See, 44% of salespeople quit or give up after hearing one no with the prospect. 22% of salespeople give up after hearing no a second time. 14% give up after hearing no a third time. 12% give up after hearing no a fourth time. See, 92% give up after 4 no's. But here's what's interesting. They said that 60% of customers actually say yes after hearing no 4 or more times before saying the word yes. But 92% of the people never experienced that because they gave up too early before they could ever get to that 5th conversation. See, again, if the super producer in this industry, if the Patrick Mazer, the Mike Mazer, if the super producers in the industry have to talk to 10 to get 3 people to get started, no matter what batting average that you have, you can fail faster. You can fail more often. You can still go out and create more results. See, you can talk to 100 to get 10. It's all about just getting to that 100 before somebody else gets to 10. See, what I love about this business, it's equal opportunity at its finest, meaning you can outwork somebody else and just accept the word no, strive for it and just get those results faster because you're going through more you're growing through what you're going through. And here's what's really crazy, and I'm going to start to wrap this up. What is the biggest fear of most people in this industry? What do you think it is? And here's what I'm going to tell you. 51% said that a prospect or customer would say no or reject them. 51% of the people say that. 22% say upsetting people by coming across as too pushy. 18% say not making the sale or reaching their goal. Only 9% said that they were concerned that the product was not right for their customer. Only 9% said that they were concerned that either the product or the opportunity was not right for their customer or their prospect. Now, what is the #1 quality of a salesperson? That's what people were polled. 38% said the willingness to face rejection. 22% said the ability to close a sale. 18% said communication and negotiating skills. Only 5% of the people said product knowledge. But again, so many people get stuck on that analysis paralysis, analyzing things so much that they get paralyzed and they never actually move forward. So what has the fear of failure cost you? Ask yourself that. What level would you be at today in this business or in life, if it wasn't for that fear of failure that exists in every single one of us? See, when we were toddlers, we took enormous risks. Hourly, we transitioned from crawling to walking. We fell countless times. Until we learned how to put one foot in front of the other, then we learned how to ride a bike. I already talked about that one. And even in high school, we were trying out for sports teams, knowing we might not make the team, but we wanted to try out anyway. See, failure was simply a part of life. It wasn't anything that was final. Then the older that we get, then we move into this fact where, this fear of rejection happens. And you would think that it would be the opposite. The older and the wiser that we got, you would think that we'd be like, okay, I accept that, let's run towards it. But instead, for whatever reason, that brick wall of fear starts to creep up on people. See, the problem is our emotions. And this business is about learning how to detach the emotions from the yeses and the nos. See, rejection is as natural of a part of the process as waking up and getting dressed in the morning. The late great boxing champ Floyd Patterson was said to have been knocked down more than any other notable fighter in all times. But he said, I also got up the most. He said, I learned very little. This is so important. He said, I learned very little about myself when I won a fight, but I learned a tremendous about myself every single time that I lost. See, sales are measured by the numbers of the times that you hear yes, but character is measured by the number of times that you hear no and keep going anyway. See, to achieve something you've never done before, you've got to become somebody that you've never been before. So all of us are striving for 24. For our number 24, our 24 personal recruits to go regional director, but develop your ratio. Figure out how many exposures you're going to need to go through to get those 24. For me, the number was always 100. For me, I was always focused on 100 exposures to get to whatever next level I was going to strive for. I have even done another training called the 100 Squares, which we'll talk about another time, but set a goal right now of how many times are you going to hear no this week. I want you to set that goal, and here's what I can tell you. If you hit that goal, you're going to be blown away by the amount of results and the amount of yeses, the reps, and the amount of customers that you've obtained by going out and hitting that goal of how many no's that you're going to obtain. So I hope this was helpful. I hope it was valuable for every single one of you guys. And with that being said, Mr. Mazer, I'll turn the call back to you. Thank you so much for your time, for letting me share some time this morning on the training call with your team.